In 1990, I was in the British Army, and I had a posting to a place in northern Germany, and I was a platoon commander. So I was in command of about 30 guys, and we were part of what's called a mechanized infantry battalion, which basically meant that we would all bundle into the back of what are called APCs, or armored personnel carriers, and we would do all these drills and kind of war maneuvers, training maneuvers. And the enemy in those days, of course, were the Russians, and so we would go out into the vast plains of northern Europe, and very often in the freezing cold winters, and we would do these maneuvers. And obviously communication was very important. So I came back from leave, my company came back from leave, and I was missing a radio operator. So you need a radio operator in those situations, of course. Communication is absolutely vital. We didn't have one. So I said to the platoon, so guys, I need a radio operator. Who's it going to be? No one volunteered. I said, guys, we need a radio operator. One of you has to volunteer. Far back of the room, this one guy puts up his hand like this. And the moment he put up his hand, everyone burst out laughing, because his name was Jones. And he had a stutter. Well, something just said to me, choose this guy. I mean, it was the most ridiculous thing. On one level, I just knew it was ridiculous, but then I thought, just choose this guy. Something just told me, it's completely counterintuitive. Find Jones, you'll be it, right? So he was the radio operator, and it was quite complicated, because not only have you got to speak quite clearly, you've got to know this thing called bat code, which was all kind of lots of code. I then get back to the officers' mess. Word gets out that Ekin has hired this radio operator with a stutter. Doesn't sound great, right? Anyway, we go off on maneuvers and we do our thing, and this guy transforms. I mean, when he gets on the radio, not only does he speak perfectly and fluently and without the hint of a stutter, it turns out that he's really, really good at the bat code stuff, all the coding and so on. And I left the battalion and he stayed on, and I heard that he went from strength to strength in the radio department, in the signaling department. So I tell you that story because it's just a story. It's just one of my stories, but it's not just a story. I just want to talk to you about, really what I'm talking here about is storytelling. You have stories, I have stories, and yet we tend to negate our stories and we don't think they're really up to much. But what we do when we share our stories is we give people an incredible gift, and we give them some insight into their own lives. But most of the time, we're frankly just too terrified to tell our stories. We're certainly too afraid to do public speaking. What I'm doing now is I'm public speaking to a potential audience of 7.7 billion people on the planet. But I'm not experiencing a whole bunch of nerves and stuff. I mean, okay, I do it for a profession. I train other people to do it. But we need to tell our stories. And there are really three things I want to leave you with. One is that all of us have a unique story, and we need to share it, because unless we share our stories, nothing ever transforms. No sharing, no transformation. The second thing is we need to own our space. This is my space. Right now, this is my space. You're listening, and if I don't own it and take responsibility for it and really express myself from my guts, from my heart, then I'm doing you a huge, disservice. And then, what's really important is to be kind of not weird. If you're talking with friends, we're public speaking all the time, completely naturally conversing. Yet put us in front of 10, 100, 200 people, we very often fall apart. Why? Because we allow fear to come into the space. So those are three things to consider about public speaking. Share your story. It is amazing, it is unique, and there's only one of it, and that's you. So I'm Simon Ekin, teacher of courage, professional speaker, and trainer of people who want to speak really well and who want to get their story out in the world. Thanks for listening.